I want to share with you guys a really quick story about why a good shop is worth the money and a bad shop can cost you a whole lot more. So a really good high quality shop is expensive. The shop I work for, we are not the cheapest place in town. We are in fact one of the most expensive places in town. However, I want to share with you guys a story about a vehicle that came into our shop after being sent to another shop and a bunch of work being done on it at another shop. That shop wasn't able to fix it, and I got the truck and we fixed it right. And so let's dive right into this story. If you're an automotive technician or you just like learning more about cars, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that like button so this video can spread to more people, and let's dive right into what happened with this truck. So first, a little bit of backstory. This is a 2016 Ram 1500 with a 5.7 V8 Hemi engine in it. The truck came in with a complaint of a cylinder 3 misfire at idle, only at idle, and if you come up off of idle, that misfire goes away entirely. This truck had been to several other shops, and here's a list of things they had replaced. All of the spark plugs, there's 16 of them. All of the coils, there's 8 of them. They'd swapped fuel injectors and performed a compression test and were unable to find any issues with any of these things. I was able to get in and identify the problem within a very short time frame. So the total amount of time that I spent diagnosing this vehicle was less than 1 hour to come to a conclusive diagnosis, or call, you could say, as far as what went wrong. So the first thing that I did when I got the truck is I noticed that when you crank the truck over, there was a little bit of an uneven cranking rhythm. So with that, I know that if there's a compression issue or a base engine mechanical issue, you're going to hear it in the cranking rhythm most of the time. Now, the other shop said they did check compression and it tested good. However, chances are they probably only checked cranking compression and not running compression or any other relative compression, anything like that. So when I heard that skip in the initial cranking rhythm when I first started it, what I did is I went ahead, used a PicoScope, and took a relative compression scope capture. Here's the video that I took of that scope capture that kind of explains what we're looking at in that scope capture. What we're looking at here is the current ramp with the starter. So we see the initial spike is getting the engine spinning, and then each one of these peaks is, as the cylinders are coming up on compression, current increases to the starter. And so what we can see with this tracer line here is that every 8 peaks, we have one that is noticeably higher. And you can tell that in the pattern. This indicates that one cylinder has higher compression than the other 7, and which indicates that our misfire is caused by a mechanical issue and not a ignition or other fueling issue. Based on the findings within that capture, what we ended up doing was we sold additional time to remove the valve cover and inspect to see if the conclusion or the idea that the exhaust valve wasn't opening all the way was actually correct. We removed the valve cover, we cranked the engine over, and we were able to see that the exhaust push rod for the number 3 exhaust valve was not moving as far as the cylinder next to it. Now, what is happening means that the exhaust valve is not opening all the way, therefore leading to higher compression during cranking and at low RPM. This causes the misfire. The call that was made was to replace the camshaft and the lifters, and this is what the cam and lifters look like when they came out. As you can see, the camshaft lobe is at least 50% worn off and the roller wheel is destroyed. Now, in the process of inspecting this cam, there were 4 or 5 other lobes where we could start to see a little bit of delamination of the cam friction surface that the lifter rides on. So this cam was junk. Was it a lifter problem that ate the cam, or was it a cam problem that ate the lifter? There's no real way to tell, but you can see how far down we had to tear this engine apart to be able to make this repair, and when we were done, the truck runs smooth and it's fixed right. This is a really good example and reminder of why a cheap mechanic or a cheap shop is not always the most cost-effective solution. Auto repair is really expensive. I understand that. I work in the industry. It's ridiculous how much it costs. But paying a good shop to test and actually diagnose the vehicle as opposed to a cheap shop to just throw parts at, because you know, everybody kind of go, what's a misfire? It's like, well, let's start with a tune-up. We'll do spark plugs and wires. Well, most cars don't have wires. Most of them are coil on plug now. Well, we'll do spark plugs and coils. You know, at this point, this customer, even if it's a cheap shop, has probably spent well over $1,000. Their charge to come to my shop, well, not my shop, the shop I work for, their charge to come to the shop that I work for and have a conclusive diagnosis is less than 200 bucks. So less than 200 bucks, we have a full answer, or $1,000 throwing parts at it and it's still broken and you've got to pay me anyway. So for this reason, I'm always going to advocate that when you have problems like this, you should always take them to a qualified shop, a shop that's got guys that actually know what they're doing, so you can actually get it figured out and fixed the first time. And it's much better to spend money testing to verify what's going on with your car than to just throw parts at it. There are some rare cases where this isn't the case, where it's cheaper to put a $20 sensor on than it is to spend an hour of testing. And in that case, I'm okay with it. But in this case, we've thrown all the stuff at it, and testing's not that expensive in relation to how much money they spent on parts. So that's all I have for you fine folks today. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please give it a like so that it can spread to more people, and we'll see you guys in the next video.